welcome back to another vibrant episode of AIBiz. I'm your host Avik, and if you have ever felt like the traditional leadership advice is missing the spark, then you are going to love today's conversation because we are diving deep into the heart of modern leadership, not the kind that's built on the rigid hierarchies and outdated rules, but the kind that fuels innovation, creativity, and the human centered growth. And who better to take us there than the powerhouse herself, Sara Frasca. So, welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you, Avik. It's an honor to be here.
Amazing. So, Sara, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all the listeners.
Mm.
Dear listeners, Sara is a trailblazing entrepreneur, business coach, and the former General Mills executive who's mastered the art of transformation. So, from startup trenches to boardroom brilliance, she's here to shake things up and show us like how real leaders are made, not born. So, buckle up, dear friends, listeners, everyone. Let's explore how to lead with imagination, break the mold, and build teams that actually want to show up and create magic every day. So, let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you very much. This is a topic I am super passionate about. So thank you for welcoming me and having me on.
Lovely, lovely. So Sarah, like you have said that the tools that worked before uh, won't deliver the same results today. So, uh, I mean, what do you believe is the biggest myth that leaders still cling to in 2025?
I think um, one of the things that is most difficult for leaders is giving up the reins, allowing their team to fail
Mm.
forward is what I call it. And
Yeah.
sometimes this is fraught with challenges. There might be failure points, there might be roadblocks, there might be missteps, but it's all a part of the journey. And if
Mm.
they can understand how to lean in and fail in hopefully small ways, but without a fear of failure, without being ostracized or reprimanded. That is the way to build a culture that will press forward no matter what.
Mm. Understood. And like when you began breaking away I mean, from the outdated norms, did you ever face resistance or kind of self doubt?
Well, I would say yes on both. I'll
Mhm.
tell you a little story. I started my career at General Mills, which you mentioned, and about 10 years after starting, so 10 years at being within General Mills, I actually went and worked for a startup, and it was a technology based company, small organization, but it really helped me to understand entrepreneurial grit, kind of that startup philosophy. And then I went back to General Mills. And the reason this is important is that I went back as a different type of leader. I went back and challenged things, hopefully with some humility and grace of, gosh, why do we do things that way? What if we tried this? And so I was able to start to take the processes and the systems and the wonderful, wonderful pieces of that corporation and start to question them a little bit differently. And, that was, I would say, my beginning of understanding that some of these big corporations, they have a lot of red tape, it's a lot of bureaucracy. If we can apply some of the startup philosophies and startup grit, we can do things differently, no matter the size of the organization.
Mhm. Exactly. I totally understand. And um like how do you push through it?
Well, I would say, you know, it's going to be
Mm.
baby steps at the beginning, and the momentum is created with those baby steps. And so, having the courage to try new things and to step into the uncertainty of anything that is new, kind of, picking up teammates, kind of, wrapping your arms around your colleagues and saying, it's okay. If we fail, we've just eliminated one path, right?
Mm.
And so we've got to keep trying. And there's a lot of talk. There has to be some positivity, some optimism that is a part of it. But people that just don't quite believe, and that's okay. They have not probably experienced the wins of positive disruption and innovation. And so hopefully you can bring them along for the journey and they'll be changed forever.
Mm. I can understand. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like, as someone who speaks to leaders often, I find that the fear of letting go of uh, control can actually paralyze the innovation. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, that's one of the things that is in um, startups where the founder or the entrepreneur is still in place. It's their baby. And I have had the same experience. But when we can give up the reins, when we can actually give up the control, again, they may fail. They may have points at which, things aren't going quite as well as we want it to, but that is how they learn. That is how they fully grasp the reins and start to drive the business. And imagine the power, the exponential opportunity when it's not just one leader at the top, it's the full pyramid of organization from top to bottom in all facets. Everyone now has their shoulder to the wheel and is driving the business forward.
Mm, got it. So, like, um, you had a powerful pivot, like when you joined a startup and later returned to General Mills with a total new mindset. So, how did that shift uh, change how you saw leadership?
Yeah. Well, I think when I was at General Mills the first 10 years, um, I just took everything for granted. I just was a sponge. I was listening, I was learning, I was bringing everything, kind of taking everything to heart. And didn't have the questioning capability. I didn't understand what it was like until I was actually in that startup mode. And so, when I was able to see what
Mm,
happens in a fast-paced startup, I was then able to apply some of those rules and norms to a big corporate um, kind of system. I was no longer willing to be complacent and a cog in the wheel. I now wanted to be part of changing things for the better. I now had the energy and the understanding of what happened when we actually kind of went outside the lines. Another story that I'll share with you, I actually was coaching major automotive manufacturer later in my career after my General Mills days, and I was able
mm,
to take their innovation process along with their team from 72 steps down to 3. And so that's the type of hindrance, right? I mean, when we have that much red tape in the way of people coming up with new ideas, there's no way people are going to have energy and enthusiasm for, coming up with new ideas. So I think it's important to have the understanding of kind of, when we have a small startup or when we are in that kind of innovation cycle, oftentimes the changes are so quick. It's happening. We are reacting and changing based on clients or customers' needs on an instantaneous basis. Big business is not built that way. And so we need to get closer to being able to pivot, being able to be so reactive.
mm. Understand. Yeah. So, like, uh, was there a specific moment, like maybe a conversation or a challenge that made you go, wait, I have to lead differently now? Anything like, so-
Yeah, well, this comes from a different part of my journey, but I'm just going to mention I also own a restaurant and I'm a third generation to serve my grandparents' food. And it's an honor for me. I mean, it's a way for me to be a part of my community and serve. And anyway, the reason I bring that example up is that, COVID was a very, very, I'm going to say, challenging time, which seems like it's not quite dramatic enough of, describing how it was to look at the in the face of, bankruptcy or failing at that moment. I mean, I was carrying on a 50-year legacy. And so I had the pressure. I looked at my team. I mean, these people were relying on the business to keep their families afloat. So I had to lead differently. And I would say we changed our business model almost every day, Avik. I mean, it was a truly inspirational moment to see what happened when I allowed my team to come up with solutions. Of our backs were against the wall. I mean, we were facing a crisis. I'm proud to say we never actually looked at bankruptcy, but it was on the forefront of my mind. I mean, it was this moment of if we don't figure out how to succeed and how to survive, will be dead in the water. And so every single member of the team came up with ways that we could serve in a different way, that we could be a part of the community. We actually built a model where people could donate to the restaurant and we would turn those donations into food and we brought them to the police, the fire halls, and the hospitals where people were working around the clock in order to be first responders and kind of, keep our community safe. So there were things that we did that we had never done before, we'd never thought of. We had pop ups all around town. And again, the reason that I bring this example to the front was that, your question was there a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, I have to think differently? And it was that moment, I think, that I realized all of the things I had been doing for General Mills and for other businesses, I had to do myself. And looking in the mirror and recognizing I had to give up control, I had to allow my team to take the reins and foster new ideas. It didn't matter what it was, but we had to think of new ways to keep our business afloat.
Mm,
And luckily, we survived.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I mean, I have to say that the startup environment is often like the leadership boot camp, right? It forces you to adapt fast or think, but and I love like how you brought that agility back into the corporate space. It really shows the transformation. When yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have a lot of
Mm,
clients that I coach that, the owner thinks of, in a negative sense, well, what if my team fails? What if the
mm,
team doesn't do it the way that I wanted? And I like to use the analogy of burnt toast. Yeah, they might burn the toast, right? But, you know,
mm,
it's not the end of the world. We can always get new bread. We can always scrape off the burnt parts. I mean, it is honestly the way of teaching them. It's the same with children. It's the same when we're, raising kids and we want them to understand how to ride a bike. And you can't always be there holding them and grasping it, and they'll never learn how to do it on their own. And there's only one of us as the business owner or business leader. And so, as we start to develop a team that has the skills to run the business or run portions of the business, we then are able to almost clone ourselves into those different areas and have a lot of people, again, pushing in the same direction, paddling in the same direction, whatever analogy you want to use, instead of just one, right? Now we are building a pyramid, a big team that is helping to motivate the business forward.
mm. Got it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like I mean, I was just thinking about this, the creativity gap, right? Like, why do you think so many leaders undervalue the creativity in their uh, decision making and the culture building.
Mm.
I mean, if you can share a bit about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm going to start from the perspective that
Mm,
most working adults do not believe that they are creative. I mean, I work with folks all over the world that are, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond that say, "Oh, no, no, I'm not creative." And I don't know how this happened for them, but we all started out as creative children, right?
yeah.
Somewhere along the lines, someone said, "No, no, no, you can't do that. You can't paint a giraffe purple. You can't color outside the lines. You've got to do it this way. Our process is like this." And so we all of a sudden start to stifle any creativity. And now we're just going with the flow. And so my one of my jobs, one of my passions is to help kind of, pull that creativity back out of leaders who maybe they're computer scientists, maybe they're engineers, maybe they're mathematicians or accountants. They often are, so rigid in their beliefs and they aren't allowing themselves to see that creativity does not have to be big
Mm,
products or big service changes. It sometimes is the way we answer the phone, the way we talk to our colleagues or our clients or our customers. It could be the way that we run our meetings. It could be the way that we handle a process or the way that we map out a flow. So
mm,
I think it is practice. I think it's kind of, again, having that positivity, having that optimism. I can do it. Let me try it. Let me see what it's like. Having the internal confidence and self talk to allow yourself to, again, look foolish or be silly or have fun or try new things. I mean, these are things that, again, I sadly see working adults have stifled within themselves.
yeah, exactly. And like, what's the one small but maybe you can say the powerful practice leaders can implement to start closing that creativity gap today? What do you say?
Yeah, well, I would say allowing for space.
Mm,
I have worked with thousands of business leaders across the world, and I don't think one time, not even once, has someone said that they get their best ideas when they're sitting at their desk.
uh,
They get their best ideas, and you may feel the same. It's when you're out for a walk, you're in nature, you're, having coffee with a friend. People will say when they're exercising, when you're in the shower, when you're driving. I mean, it's when you're out in the world and your brain is relaxed, you're kind of shut off. Now you're actually making connections between a challenge you're facing and something else that you've learned. And so again, if you are heads down and at your desk your whole business life, where are you supposed to come up with these wonderful ideas to help bring your business forward? I would suggest that we have to create some breaks in the action, right? We have to actually get out and take a walk over our lunch break or get out and go see a documentary or an indie film that actually gets us thinking, has us start to process some of the amazing ideas that are in there, no doubt, but that just possibly haven't had the chance to surface.
mm. Very truly said. Yeah, lovely. I really love that. And oh, that's amazing. And also, if someone listening feels stuck, like they're not ready, so what do you say to them?
Yeah. Well, oftentimes we are seeing things from only our lens. So our background, our culture, whatever we have had in our past is kind of the lens that we're seeing the challenge through. I would argue that bringing in other people from disparate parts of our lives, right? It might be a physician in our life that looks at things a little bit differently. It could be it's a an athlete that could
Mm,
look at things differently. It could be bringing a teacher in. How are they looking at your challenge? And so when you tee up your challenge, what are the questions that they might ask? How could they help to solve it? One that's really kind of a silly or simple example. I oftentimes say to my clients that I'm coaching through a challenge, how would you tee this up to an 8-year-old child? Dumb it down to the simplest of terms. Explain it as you would to an 8-year-old child of what are you facing? What are the challenges? What are the components and what are the roadblocks? And then once you've got it simplified and distilled down to its bare minimum, then sometimes we can see a better path forward. So again, I'm trying to do with someone that is stuck like that is give them a little bit of um maybe, vantage from some different lenses, different viewpoints.
Wow. Wow, what a conversation, Sarah. Thank you so much for reminding us that uh, leadership is not a title, but it's a responsibility. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's all about creating the spaces where creativity thrives, failure fuels growth, and people feel seen, heard, and empowered. So that's the amazing part of it. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this.
That's
And
great, Avik.
yeah, and
You know,
yeah, yeah, please.
one last thing, if I may. I
Yeah, yeah.
find that there's an energy crisis in the world, and I'm not talking about the sustainability component. I am talking about people showing up with their full hearts and full selves. I find that too many times people are heads down and they're just going through the motions and they're not enthused. When we give them the power, when we actually support them to have new ideas and, enable our teams to, collaborate, come up with ideas, come up with fresh approaches. I mean, we now have some energy and some life into the people that make up our business. So
Mm,
I do think as leaders, it is, as you mentioned, and I love that you said this, it's
mm,
our responsibility to make sure that each member of our organization has the ability, has the backing, and the um, opportunity to see things and change them. That's what we need to empower them with. And I will tell you, there will be a change within them. They will light up from the inside out. They will have that kick off the sheets feeling in the morning. They will come and they will bring energy towards building positive disruption in the world in however your business serves your clients, your customers, etc.
okay, okay, got it. That's a really lovely one. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, dear listeners, if you are ready to lead with the clarity, curiosity, and courage, then today's episode, I'd say, is your spark. And don't let it stop here. Take what you have heard and start. And also, if Sarah's insights lit a fire in you, make sure to check out the Seven Figure Summit. And trust me, it's not just another event, it's a transformation. So, Sarah, like, what will be the best medium if someone wants to connect with you?
Yeah, I would say sarafrasca.com
Hmm?
is probably the best spot, and I would be happy to help anyone that's feeling stuck. I know that's a really kind of hopeless, frustrating moment, and giving someone a little bit of a nudge to get them unstuck is something that I love doing and would be more than happy to do.
Amazing, amazing, lovely. So, dear listeners, I'll put the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, until next time, keep your mind sharp, your heart open, and your leadership bold. So, this is Avik from AIBiz signing off with the purpose. So, thank you so much.